appears the investigations are far from over. Steve Chaggaris, he's political journalist and commentator. Lengthy report. I know you didn't muddle all the way through all 400 pages. You read considerable amounts. What jumped out at you?
Well, what jumped out at me, I think, were the details involved as to why Mueller did not bring charges of obstruction against the president. I think that's what everybody's talking about today. We knew that there was no collusion, as the president put it, when Barr put his memo out a few weeks ago. And so we just wanted to see what the details were. And it's pretty interesting because, you know, there are a lot of things there that make the president look not so good. It was pretty clear in there that the president's staff really was trying to protect him from his own worst instincts and a lot of this stuff. And Mueller alluded to that and said, basically, I don't know where to come down in terms of the criminality of this, because the president might not have actually done anything criminal, but it doesn't look very good in a lot of these examples of what might be at least considered when you're considering obstruction of justice. And so that, to me, was fascinating.
It's interesting because Barr basically came out with this 4-page summary, and of course Trump took it and said, I'm exonerated, fully exonerated. But the other point that Barr kind of made was that, oh, Mueller punted it to me, we decided not to go forward with it. But if you delve into this, that's really not the case. He kind of made a very strong case that this should go to Congress. They should take this up.
Well, right. What he was saying was, look, from a legal criminal standpoint, I don't know where we can go with this obstruction thing. We don't necessarily have an open and shut case. And so where this should go is I'm going to lay out all the information and punt it to Congress, and then they can deal with it how they want to deal with it. He suggested that this might be a roadmap to impeachment if that's what House Democrats want to do. I don't know if House Democrats are going to go there. You have Nancy Pelosi, who has said that unless there's compelling information that comes out, we shouldn't go down the road of impeachment. You had Steny Hoyer, the House Majority Leader, say today impeachment should be off the table for now. So it's unclear, but probably not the case, at least in the short term, that impeachment's on the calendar for House Democrats. But there are a lot more shoes to drop here. It's not just the Mueller report, but there are a lot of other investigations, not only on Capitol Hill, but in courts in New York as well. And so we'll see what's going on in the coming months, whether there's more compelling evidence to go after the president.
What's your sense about Congress? Because obviously everybody keeps talking about the House. Maybe they move forward, but the Senate's not going to convict him. But should that be the litmus test? I mean, should it be, look, nobody's above the law?
I think at the end of the day, the litmus test is what American voters think. And right now, the polling isn't there for Democrats on going on impeachment. In fact, the numbers are getting softer. The numbers of Americans that support impeachment are lower than they were 4 or 5 months ago. And so Democrats are seeing that and saying, this is probably not the road we want to go down right now. However, you see Democrats who are running for president out in Iowa, New Hampshire, South Carolina, talking to voters, and voters aren't bringing up the Russia issue. They're not bringing up the impeachment issue. They're bringing up other issues like the economy, health care, climate change. I think there's a sense among Democrats who get out of Washington that they want to talk about the real issues that are facing the country and set that up for a juxtaposition with the president as they get ready for the election next year.
And for those of you who study Watergate, I mean, you look at the Watergate case, you had Stans, you had Ehrlichman, you had Haldeman, you had all these people, all these dominoes falling, all of it pointing to the president of the United States. In this case, though, what I found interesting is there could have been obstruction, but it seemed like there were a lot of aides saying, I'm not going to do that. They didn't want to take the fall. They didn't want to do some of these illegal acts. At least that's what comes across when you look at his counsel, even Jeff Sessions in some respects.
Yeah, it's sort of fascinating to watch how the president sort of set up his administration, but also his campaign, right? You look at this investigation and you just see that he surrounded himself with some pretty sketchy characters, right? And they did have communication with Russians. It wasn't collusion. But you got to ask the question, because this is a president who campaigned and said, I'm going to hire the best and brightest. I'm going to surround myself with the best people. And there were a lot of questions about some of the people he surrounded himself with. When he got, after inauguration, when he set up his administration, he did bring in some people who I think were looking at what's best for the country. And I'm not just talking about the people involved in the Russia investigation, but a lot of other issues who were really trying to keep the president out of trouble, whether it's legally or politically. And they bent over backwards to really, again, stand up against the president's worst instincts. You saw that here with his counsel, who Trump had asked, please fire Mueller, and he said, I'm not going to do it.
Yeah, very interesting stuff, that's for sure. Steve, thanks so much.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.